we get started, guys? So
Okay.
welcome to Passport Funding. I'm really happy to see you guys here. Thanks for coming. Um, as you should be aware, this is going to be recorded so that it can be shared out later. So today's purpose, as I mentioned to you, is just a basic introduction to what passport funding is, what the goals are behind the program, what we as an agency do to support passport funding, how you can use that funding, and I will show you guys really, really briefly some of the tools that we have in place because Leanne, you might actually see them. I'm not sure about you, Kirsten. Okay? If you have any questions throughout the presentation, just, you're unmuted, ask the question. I'm very like it, I want this real time. Fair? Okay, so let's get started and fingers crossed. Yay! So passport funding, what is it? It's funding that's provided by the Ministry of Children and Community Social Services. And basically, in a nutshell, it's money to help people live their best life, accessing supports and services within the community. Just a little bit of background information. Passport funding has been in place since 2012. And it was initially intended to support people who were living at home within the community, with family or on their own to help combat the long wait lists that ministry funded programs had at the time. So when people were graduating from school hoping for adult services, there were no adult services in order to transition to because they were full. So Passport began to fund people individually so that they could actually then go out and purchase supports and services that they need. Um, the other goal with this as well is to help people live as independently as possible. So again, to take potentially the direction of supports and services away from those ministry funded places like KW Rehabilitation into more of our community. So an example of that is if you would like to learn how to knit, go join a community knitting guild and Passport will help you pay the cost for that. Other purposes behind the goal is Passport program is to help people to foster their independence by building those skills. A lot of the people that we work with have had limited opportunities to really navigate their community freely, and a lot of that has been financial because the world costs money. So by providing people with this reimbursement program, they can go out and check things out, see if it's something that they like, take programs or classes that will help build those skills, and so on. It also helps to increase those opportunities to participate, helps people to make those choices as to what they would like to do, and helps them to achieve their goal. Because again, being that reimbursement program, it will allow people and support people as they try things out. Just like you and I, when we try things out, that's really important to know what you like to do and more importantly, what you don't like to do. When you're on a limited budget, such as what ODSP provides, you only get about $100 extra per month. And if a class costs $100, that's hard for somebody. So Passport helps to bridge that. Passport is also available and its purpose is to promote that social inclusion and broaden those relationships. So again, getting people out into their communities, doing things with people outside of their home will help them develop those relationships, will help them broaden their circles, will help them make friends, right? And that's really, really important because again, part of the journey to belonging transformation is to help people move away from standalone programs such as what the ministry covers, like our day programs, and move more into what the community has, and then be with your community. Make friends that way. As I mentioned right at the very beginning, one of the initial purposes behind Passport program was to help those young people transition from high school into adult programs within the community. Because again, as I mentioned, in 2012, there was a number of, there were no spaces available in ministry, so people had to shop around. And then it also is there to support families because those families those individuals that live at home with their families and their caregivers, we can provide breaks for those individuals, respite for those individuals and their families, so that families can have a break. And then when they have a break, they can continue in that supportive role rather than getting burned out. So that's a summary of the really quick of the goals very, very quickly. Who should apply? Anybody should apply. Everybody should apply. You apply, you apply, you apply. Anybody who can actually receive supports and services through Developmental Services Ontario, so DSO, is eligible for at least $5,500 per annual fiscal year. This is to help you purchase community activities and supports, activities of daily living, person-directed planning, or caregiver respite supports. Now, while 5,500 might be the minimum, we have individuals in the province of Ontario that will receive up to $48,000 because Passport is based, how much you get from Passport is based on an assessment. So how much you need, or sorry, how much help you need to be successful in the community will help dictate how much Passport money you are allowed. So Leanne, you will notice the people that we work with, they get anywhere from 5,500 straight up to, I think our highest is a little over 30,000. Those individuals were each assessed on their individual needs, and the funding was provided in order to support them and help them live their best life in the community. Any questions so far? Love it. Okay,
No, that's
moving forward.
awesome.
So how do you apply? Well, you have to connect with Developmental Services Ontario in order to apply for any adult service in the province of Ontario. They are also your one-stop shop for Passport funding. So when a person applies for DSO supports and services, they should also be putting in an application for Passport services. This is something that they should ask for because it's not done automatically. And just Kirsten, you might be interested to know this, but youth should begin this process as early as 16 because this will help with that smoother transition into adulthood. Because when you turn 18, and that what happens often is all of your adult services go poof because you're now an adult. DSO allows you to start preparing for that at 16. So to put in your application to the DSO, to put in your application to ODSP, to put in your application to Passport funding, so that on your 18th birthday, this stuff should start very fluidly. Okay, so there you go. So that's why we nag to get it done early. Now, let's unpack how we can spend our money. So there's a few headings here, and the first is community participation supports. So this is to help an individual participate in their community, either in a active weekly or daily program or in one-off events. So for example, downstairs we have the clubs through Out and About Waterloo Region. They are considered a program and therefore they are allowed by Passport. So we then I submit that on the person's behalf and the person is reimbursed back the cost that they spend for the Out and About clubs. The Leg Up classes are all admissible with Passport funding. So those can be a program. So for example, when Anita is doing her financial literacy, that lasts 3 months. But Leg Up also offers what they call events, and those are those one-shot deals. So come in and, with JJ Woven and make a tumbler. Those are the types of things. Movies are an event. Swimming is an event. So going to a concert, going to live theater, community participation supports encompasses all of that. It's to help the person to participate within their community, doing things that they want to do. Going back again, I don't know why this is on a timer. I'm sorry. It's to help them also to participate in the community because a lot of the people that we work with require support in order to find success in the community. And those that live specifically, for example, within our community at home, their only support is their family members. So we can then help by paying a support staff to come in and take that person out of their home and take them swimming to Sunbeam or to the local community center. and thereby giving the family a break. All of our leg up to work, leg up to material handling, leg up to retail classes, those are all job and work related activities, and those are also covered under passport funding, as well as fee for service job coaching that is offered through KW Career Compass. So how that is done, Leanne, just so that you know, internally, you have your gentleman down the street, just down a couple of desks down, who provides me with a GL batch report on a monthly basis of who is using our one-on-one supports, either through respite or through KW Career Compass job coaching. And then finally, well, not finally, it will also help pay for equipment costs related to those activities. So let's use horseback riding as an example. Horseback riding can be really, really expensive. The equipment needed for horseback riding is very pricey. So as you can see through this, that horseback riding in itself will be paid because that's a community program. But you need to have specialized boots and you need to have a helmet for safety, right? If you do not have those two things, it makes it unsafe for you to go horseback riding. So Passport will cover the cost of those specialized pieces of equipment. All right, so that it does pave that way for that person to be able to fully experience horseback riding. If you look at soccer, it won't pay for running shoes. It will not pay for shorts and a t-shirt, but when you play soccer, you need a set of cleats, which are special shoes. Passport will cover the cost of those shoes. Again, it will help to cover the costs of things and items that you need in order to participate in the activity that you choose to participate within the community. And then finally, we've mentioned tickets, and I briefly mentioned going to sporting events like the Jays or the Panthers. The Rangers are very popular for our guys, so there's a lot of season tickets and whatnot with that. But it also pays for concerts, live theater, so anything from Drayton or the smaller places. And then those really interesting things, like we had a group of people go see that Dinosaurs Live thing that was being held at Center in the Square. And that again is also covered. But we need to remember that no matter how much that ticket is, Passport will only reimburse up to $150 per ticket. And that is new this fiscal year. All right. So if you go to the Snoop Dogg concert, which we've had some folks do and drop $300 on a ticket, they will get 150 of that back. The other 150 they are required to pay out of pocket. Fair? Yep. The end.
So that's new this year that there's a cap. Was there a cap last year?
No. So during COVID, there was a lot of changes made to the admissible items, and they took the the maximum cap off at the beginning of COVID in order to make things easier for people to be able to experience the world. Now they've had to put that cap back on because they've discovered that the cost of tickets, for example, concerts, can be quite dear. Right. And people are running out of their passport money by simply going to 2 or 3 concerts in a year, right? So this is a way for them to help try to stretch that money a little bit more and to also build in a little bit of accountability, right? So we give a little, you give a little.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, though, if you're really, really smart, you can get most tickets for under $150. It just takes a little bit of creativity and a bit of effort, unless, of course, it's Snoop Dogg. And then, yeah, you're 300 and you're traveling there and there's food and all the things.
Great.
All right. So activities of daily living, what are those? So those are services and supports to help people live as independently as possible in their home. Now, their home could be one of our inclusive living environments. It could be their own apartment, or it could be where they live with their family. To do this, they help, included in this are technology items. So what we learned during COVID is because prior to COVID, we weren't able to purchase technology with passport funding. But when COVID hit, the ministry recognized that there was a need that they needed to rethink how they were allowing people to spend, because if you can't leave your house, what is one way to bring your community to you? Technology. So we had a big rush of people buying laptops, desktops, tablets, cell phones, all of those things so that they could connect with their families and friends online, right? At the time, there was no cap. You could spend your entire budget just on technology, right? We also find that with technology items, there's so many great things out there that can help you live more independently. I'll use 108 Sydney as an example. So when we closed a couple of our group homes and moved the individuals over to 108, some of those individuals weren't ready to live in an apartment by themselves, right? So they would have specialized technology supports in there. So they have Google Nests that you can program to keep somebody on track. So you can say, okay, and put their schedule in so they know when they need to leave to get somewhere, or when they need to start cooking, or when they need to take their medication. We have devices at 108 that will turn off the oven if it's kept on, or the stove when it's kept on. Again, those safety features to help people live independently in their own home. We have people who wear those things around their neck, those, if you push them, if you need help, that is also covered under technology items because, again, that helps somebody live in their own home. All right. New this year, though, is they finally put that $3,000 cap on technology. So under that is all of the technology that I've talked to you about, the TVs, the computers, and the tablets and whatnot. But it also includes the bills in order to support that. So if you own a cell phone, you can submit your cell phone bill and have that reimbursed. If you have a tablet, you can submit your internet and get that reimbursed, right? Again, Passport's goal is to help people to afford what they need in order to be able to participate in their community. Under this section, as well as sensory items, we have a number of people across our agency that rely on sensory items in order for stimulation or relaxation. So I'm thinking specifically of snoozling equipment, the big bubble tubes, or the sleep pillows, or the special, like there's a cat, a weighted cat that purrs and behaves like a cat, weighted blankets, pressure vests. Those things are also admissible under Passport because, again, Passport recognizes that a lot of the folks that we work with have sensory needs that we need to support for them to be successful in the community. We've already talked about classes and other learning activity fees. Perfect example of that is Leg Up and all of their classes. And again, to pay for the support staff to help that person participate in those activities, whatever they may be. Any questions about that? Okay, we're solid. We're moving on. So just very briefly, caregiver respite, because that doesn't really impact those living within our agency, but we do support a number of people who live within the community in their family homes. So Passport will help to pay for having a support worker come in and hold it. Yep. Okay, Kirsten?
Sorry, I actually do have a question about the previous slide.
Yep,
I'm so sorry.
no problem.
So when you say the support staff is covered to help participate, would that also be up to the, like, for example, if they were accompanying someone at the Snoop Dogg concert, would they be paying out of pocket more than the 150 as well?
Okay, so let's go back then. That's a
Sorry.
great question.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let's use Snoop Dogg as an example. The gentleman,
Mhm.
this concert was in London, so the gentlemen couldn't get there on their own, and they required support. So they had to buy 2 tickets. Each ticket was reimbursed to a maximum of $150.
Okay.
Okay. He was also able to submit um, a claim for the support staff to help him get to and from and stay within the event, and also the mileage to get him to and from the event. So in total, he was reimbursed much more than that 150. So at minimum, he was reimbursed the 300 for the $600 worth of tickets, and then the support staff costs, which has no cap, and the mileage cost, which has no cap. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry?
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I was
Okay.
just wondering because I was like, I was wondering if the staff had to pay out of pocket as well for those activities.
No, no.
Okay.
In our agency, if any of our staff support an individual on something that they would like to do, all costs of the staff are covered, whether it be through passport funding or through the agency's actual budget.
Okay.
Okay?
Perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. Okay, so caregiver respite, just really briefly, it's intended for those living at home in the community with families and other supports. And it's to provide either support to that person in their home or outside of their home so that their caregiver can have that ever needed break. And then person-directed planning. While we do provide person-directed planning for every person who is supported through KW rehabilitation, individuals can choose not to use our services and instead hire somebody else to come in and provide that life plan. An example of a company that does that is Bridges to Belonging. They cost about $2,500. So Passport will reimburse to a maximum of $2,500 for you to build a life plan, right? And we do have a couple of people within our agency who choose to go elsewhere. Again, it's all about choice, giving people that option of where to go for their services, who provides that services, and how they receive the service. All right. And then finally, the administration of funding. So nothing is for free. You got to pay me the big bucks. So for folks that are living within our inclusive living environments, they pay a maximum of 5% administration cost on every transaction that I submit on their behalf. For those living in the community, they pay 10%. Okay? So that's all that we need to say about that. So things that aren't covered. I get this question all the time. I'd like to go on vacation. I want to go see the mouse. Yay, you, by all means, you plan that vacation, you go see the mouse, but Passport will not cover your vacation costs. What they will, however, cover is if you need support to go see the mouse in Florida, they will help to pay for your support staff's flight, their accommodations, all of their meals, all of their admission costs. They will pay for your support so that you can go on the vacation that you choose to go on, but it will not pay for you. Okay. Groceries and restaurants out, it will not cover because those are things that are a choice. Well, groceries are not a choice, but that's something you need on a daily basis. Going to the restaurant is a choice. So if you want to go to the restaurant, you're required to pay for that on your own. What it will, however, pay for is if you need support to eat in that restaurant, your support staff's meal will be covered. You just need to submit that. What I usually recommend with restaurant meals for support staff is try to stay within our policies and procedures of $22 per dinner or $12, I think it is, for lunch. I know that's really hard these days with the cost of food, but you shouldn't be taking somebody to the keg and ordering their surf and turf when they're getting the Caesar salad. Be reasonable with what you purchase. Um, Going back, clothing, we talked about clothing already, so it does not cover the basics that you need, right? The stuff that you need to cover your body, but it will help to pay those costs of specialized clothing or shoes in order for you to participate in an activity. It will not cover housing, house maintenance, furniture, and whatnot. It will not cover dental costs, fees for therapies and other specialized services, because there are a number of other options within the ministry as well as throughout the community for either subsidy or discounts for those therapies and specialized services. And there are a few other items. What I recommend to staff is if you've got a question, is it covered? If it's not, send me an email. I'll be able to answer it. And if I can't, I can get you the information directly from Passport. And then I also have the email that says, yes, it's covered, so that we can cover things. And if something isn't necessarily covered, we can ask for something that's called a pre-approval, which is when we get to be creative. and say, okay, so and so, I know that furniture is not covered, but this person really would benefit from an accessible swing in their backyard because they can't use an appropriate swing. So with a pre-approval, with me being able to explain why this is needed, how it's going to be used, what are the benefits to the person of having this accessible swing, and is it going to impact their budget overall? Sometimes they will actually then say, you know what, go ahead, you can pick that up. One of my favorite examples is a riding lawnmower. So a riding lawnmower is absolutely not covered under Passport, right? You wouldn't even think it was, but I thought I'd throw it in there a couple of years ago. And I asked, based on this person who was isolated in their home, who wanted to get out of their home and help their neighbors, wanted to start their own business of, doing lawn care, and also had accessibility issues that a push mower would not work for him. So we were able to convince Passport that this actually was a very viable way of using this gentleman's Passport money, and they allowed that purchase to be made. He now owns his own business. He has extended to his neighborhood and beyond, and he works every Saturday and Sunday when it's sunny enough out, and he takes care of people's outdoor work, right? Passport can be your way to something pretty cool. Okay, other things to know, and this is pretty important. So, yeah,
That's gonna be a story. We should make that a story. That's really cool. Is that the guy? Is he even out and about? I think I know who you're talking
no,
about.
he is
No?
somebody that lives within the community who is not supported at
Ooh.
KW Hab in any way.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, because
That's a bummer.
I support all of our inclusive living people, as well as those living in the community who receive our supports. And then I have a pocket of people that just use us as a transfer payment agency
Nice.
and have no other association with us. So very cool story, but he did not want it shared because I tried.
Okay, thank you for trying though. That's cool.
No problems. So Passport funding is a separate program from ODSP. Passport funding will not impact somebody's ability to either get ODSP or the amount that they will receive for ODSP, because Passport is a reimbursement program. Passport, you need to spend the money first and get the money back. Passport is also, you do not claim it on your income tax. Okay, so you do not need to do that because I get a lot of questions about that. That is not necessary. It is not based anything on your current financial resources. It is simply based on that assessment that the DSO does with you to explain, to help them understand what supports and needs that you have in order to participate within the community. There isn't an age cap on Passport funding. You are eligible the day you turn 18, and it will continue until the day that you either say you no longer want it or you pass away. We have one person who is residing in a hospital right now, palliative care, who continues to use her Passport funding, right? And Passport funding doesn't roll over to the next year. So if you hoard it and don't spend any of it, that doesn't mean you're going to get 10 grand the next year. It goes away, just like the agency's budget on March 31st, you wave it goodbye and the new one starts on April 1st. It's the same deal with this. All right. So if you don't use it, you will lose it. Along those lines, I always recommend, please do your spending and your budget to spend throughout the year. Don't save all of your spending until the middle of March, because that will, well, first, it will frustrate Passport One because a lot of people do that, and you'll get pulled into audit, and you can be pulled into audit for several months and not get your money back because of the volume of people who are submitting at the very end of the year. So I always ask individuals to submit as you get stuff or on a monthly or quarterly basis to avoid that. There? Okay. So what do I do to support you? I process all of the receipts. So as Christian, you may not know the process, Leanne does. Leanne processes all of our credit card receipts. and whatnot. And then if there's anything for Passport, she sets those aside and it comes down to me. And then I submit those to Passport on behalf of the agency and the person to reimburse back the agency. Leanne will also pay vendors on people's behalf and then submit that to me so that I can reimburse the agency back using somebody's Passport funding. We also use a Passport reimbursement form. So that's for individuals that we work with who've paid out of their own pocket that want the money back. That form, just so that you know, Leanne, comes directly to me. You don't see that at all. And then I process that. And then Leanne takes care of reimbursing back their bank accounts. Right? So that's how we do things. Leanne is my conduit to so many things in admin. She's amazing. What else can I do? I can help provide suggestions on how you can spend your money. I can help you fill out those pre-approval applications to see if we can be really, really creative in how we use money. In the fall, I'm going to be going out to all of the staff meetings to have a conversation about Passport money, how to spend for that particular home and the individuals that live within that particular home, because I understand that some of the people that we work for and with don't necessarily utilize their funding to their greatest extent that they could. And oftentimes that's because they don't know how to, or they think, well, it's to pay for things outside of the home. I'm going to be talking about how to bring your community to you, because we have people that, due to mental health or mobility or medical, they can't safely leave their home. So we have to be able to bring the community to them. So I help you find those ways. I also provide tools to aid our direct support staff and our managers in tracking the funding so that they know at any given time how much money they have in order to spend. And I've also provided a budgeting sheet that will help DSPs work alongside of the people that we support and work for and with so that they can help that person budget. And then I provide very regular updates to our leadership team as well as our senior leadership team about where our funding is at, specifically person by person. And when people are running low of funding, I will notify managers so that they can discontinue the spending, because unlike other years, we can't continue to cover off costs that Passport is not going to cover, right? Because somebody has run out of money. So we need to find other ways. And one of those ways is just a plan. You've got this amount of money. How can we spread it out? Fair? Okay. Other resources are available. You both will be very familiar with this, but I point all staff to the resources.kwhab.ca page for the Passport and the vendor forms. Leanne, I'm the reason why you're getting more vendors, okay? Because I wanted to reduce the usage of our credit cards for things like music therapy when that could go through vendors, okay? I provided those tracking sheets that I talked to you about so that people can track in real time, the budgeting sheets, and then you've got me. And like I said, I've made it so that I prefer that DSPs be able to reach out to me directly with their questions. They don't need to go through their manager in order to ask the question. I try to be as available as possible to everyone. So I'm going to just breeze through this, guys, because this is not really for you, but that's what the resources.kwhab page looks like. It's your one-stop shop for all your KWHab needs. That's what the Passport form looks like. Okay, so you would enter the individual's name, the claimant code automatically populates. And then I process these usually 2 to 4 times a month, depending on how often I receive them. Turnaround is fairly quick from Passport unless you get held up in audit, and I touched on that briefly. You're held up in audit either because you have an unclear receipt. Randomly, I think every 15 or so, they just pluck one out and they're going to audit, or those large purchases or those large bulk submissions that I talked to you about before. Like if you save all of your receipts from the entire year and then decide to submit 25,000 all at once. that's going to be a problem. Okay, the vendor form should be used whenever you are paying a vendor. So music classes, annual membership fees, those types of things. Again, I'm encouraging our DSPs and our DSWs and managers to use this as opposed to their BMO and Visa, because feedback I received was with all of these activities going on the BMO, it wasn't available for when they actually did groceries. So this is to help offset some of that stress. Mileage. This doesn't impact necessarily KW rehabilitation, but anybody in the community who wants to submit mileage, they are paid the same rate that staff are at 55 cents per kilometer. You have to include the addresses, what the trip was for, and it cannot be used for trips to appointments. So stuff that typically comes up in your life. Transportation and mileage costs are paid for going to and from an activity or a class, right? Going to and from a get-together. Mileage for your staff so that they can support you on the days that they're working with you, that kind of stuff. I've also developed quite a number of tip sheets. So there's a passport reimbursement. So what process you need to follow if it's a reimbursement, what process you need to follow if there's a vendor payment. Same deal for mileage, same deal for codes. And I've also made a tip sheet about the perfect receipt. Leanne, this is going to be the bane of your existence as well. Those receipts that you can't read or don't have the information that you require. So I've put together a tip sheet that explains everything that should be on the perfect receipt. This is the receipt that will not get pulled into audit. This is the receipt that will not get rejected. This is the receipt that Leanne wants attached to the BMOs and the visas, right? And please, please, please don't take a picture of the screen. Instead, take a screenshot, because when you take a picture, it goes all wavy and then you can't read a thing. All right. Oh, as I'm thinking about these tip sheets, my goal, just to let you both know, Kirsten, you might have already heard about it. I am hoping to have a passport button put on the resources.kwhab.ca page so that I can populate it with these tip sheets, with community maps and other stuff around passport, so that staff have readily, so that the information is readily accessible to all staff. Okay, so here you go. The perfect receipt. Do I need to go over it again? No, it's clear, readable. It contains all of the information we need. Name, cost, date of when you purchased it, date of the event, membership date, bill dates, all of that kind of stuff. This is what the tracking spreadsheet looks like, just so that you both know. This has been provided to every home within our agency. And along the bottom, they will have a tab for every person that lives within that home. So up here, can you see my little arrow? You will see that this person has $1,265. Now, you've already heard that everybody receives a minimum of $5,500 per fiscal year, correct? Well, this is a person that pays administration costs at 5%, and they also pay extra staffing costs. So I have removed that administration cost and those extra staffing costs from the tracking sheet so that staff, DSPs and DSWs and managers, have the real number that they are working with. Okay, so a person, even though they may receive $5,500 potentially from Passport, they have access to $1,250 per fiscal year. And then there's a formula built into this tracking sheet that when you make a addition or an addition to it, it will automatically subtract so that you have a clear running balance of what is available at any given time. This is to help staff to recognize when somebody's getting close to that line, and will help people then start making informed decisions as to how they want to spend the rest of their money. Okay, money doesn't go far. Budgeting. Ugh, nobody likes to budget, and usually people are like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. But honestly, budgeting, especially when you only receive that minimum amount of $1,250, it can make or break somebody's year. So what that can look like, if you look at this, is I've put in here a leg up class, which is $320. That's brought down their money. Now, say this person wanted to attend a couple of summer leisure events. That's going, you're planning for that, right? So they need to go to the movies for their own mental health on a monthly basis. That's how much it costs to go to the movies on a Tuesday cheap night once a month. So put that into your budget, account for that now. If you've got somebody who, again, for their mental health or their physical health, wants to swim on a weekly basis, that's $6.64 a week. So I have multiplied it by 50 weeks. That's how much it's going to cost to send that person swimming per year. Put that into their budget. As you can see, their money is ticking down. So after you have planned for what the person needs in their life, what they expect to have in their life, then you'll know how much actual play you have left over. That's the benefit of budgeting, right? We budget. When we want to do something special or go on a trip or make a big purchase, we just don't pull that money off a money tree. We actually have to think about it and put a plan in place and budget. This is an opportunity for our DSPs and DSWs to work alongside of the individuals that we work for and with and teach them the importance of budgeting as well. Because again, money does not grow off the KW Have money tree. Okay? And then that's the end, because literally today was just a really brief introduction to Passport, what we had available to help people keep track of that funding, what resources you had available, and then the rest of the rest of our time, which is 15 minutes, is for questions. Do you guys have any questions? It's Kirsten.
Can you go back to the last slide? Is a movie for a person and the staff actually $142?
That is stretched out one movie once a month for
Oh,
12
for the full
months.
year?
Yeah, for 12 months. So
Oh,
if you know somebody needs to go to the movies on a month, or they have this monthly date with a friend that they go, you know this already, put it in your budget.
I thought that was the
Okay?
cost of one movie now because I haven't been in a while,
No,
and I was like,
no,
whoa.
no, no. That is the cost of one movie once a month for 12 months.
Okay,
Yes, just like the swimming cost is once a week for 50 weeks, and that's how much it costs,
okay.
right? I want people to think about the things that people need in their lives, the things that they automatically do because it costs money, and then take that out so that you know what you have to play with afterwards for those extra things.
Awesome. Thank
Okay,
you.
no problems. Any other questions?
No, it was good. So,
Well, then,
so you have, you said it was every third Friday that you're gonna be planning a presentation with different topics. What sort of other topics? Because this was just a brief, or very, well, it wasn't brief, it was very detailed, but presentation of what Passport's all about. So
yeah.
I'm just kind of wondering, so what, for example, what might the next presentation cover on Passport?
If you'll give me a moment, I'll stop sharing and I will look up that document
Yeah, just
because I've
curious.
got it.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's also a blog on our Have Our News resource page that has the topic of each week there
Okay,
as well.
okay.
Mhm.
Word is being very stubborn, but I know I have a week just specifically on Let's Talk Technology,
Okay,
a week on Let's Talk Community Participation,
okay.
a week on Let's Talk about budgeting and how to
Hmm.
do that and how to support that budgeting piece.
Okay.
So this is the intro.
Yeah.
And then each,
Sort of
my
break.
Word is not opening.
No,
So,
that's okay. Just
I have it
curious.
right here.
okay.
So yeah, this one is, did you know, on September 20th, it'll be budgeting.
Okay.
October 18th is cost savings.
Cost savings. Okay.
November is the talk and tech. And then December is community participation.
Yeah, that's right. Cost savings. That's the one I forgot because again,
Yeah. What's
we're working on encouraging individuals to purchase access to entertainment cards or other discount things and
okay.
encouraging DSPs and DSWs to utilize those cost saving measures because there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's available. You just have to look for it and it takes a little bit of effort. So I've got a
Yeah.
list of things that we can do. Like something as simple as the GRT, a monthly GRT pass has just gone up to $96 per month, but every person that we work for and support is entitled to the reduced rate. So we have half our people paying at 92 and half our people paying at 46.
Oh.
So yeah, so I put out information about how to get that discounted rate,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Taxi scripts. Anybody from Mobility Plus who has a Mobility Plus membership can purchase what they call a taxi script from the GRT for $30, and it's worth $60 of taxi fares.
Wow.
So there's creative ways to lessen that amount. Drighton Entertainment accepts the access to entertainment card, but you have to call them to order your tickets. You cannot do it online. Same with Ripley, same with the museum. You have to actually call. You can't book online because there's no space to enter that
info.
discount online. So you have to call. You have to take that extra step. But when you're working with $1,250, well, 92 times 12, there goes your budget.
Right.
So great, you've got your GRT pass. You can travel all kinds of places, but where are you going to go?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what cost savings is all about.
That's really good. That'll be a good one. That's good. You
Yeah.
provide that for everybody.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yes.
Yay. Well, thank you both for joining me. It would have been very, very lonely had it just been me. You know where I am. If you ever have any questions, I'm just down the hall or just down on one floor. Leanne, I appreciate you and everything that you do to keep me on track. Kirsten, I've been appreciating you and everything that you're doing to help me get this stuff moving forward. So hopefully that passport button will happen soon and then we can get that baby populated.
Yep.
And we appreciate your position in helping with the passport and having a focal point, right? It's good to have.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys would like to talk about today?
At the moment, I think I'm good. I'm sure
Yeah?
I'll come up with questions. I always come up with questions. So, but I
Well,
know where
you
to
know
find
where
you.
I'm at.
That's right.
Exactly. All
Yeah.
right then. Well, thank you both for coming. I'll sign off for now and wish you both a wonderful weekend.
Yeah,
We're
you
supposed to
too.
get the warm weather back.
We
Yay.
are. Thanks, Jen.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you next
Bye
week.
for now.
Bye.
Bye.